Hi, Mikel. Nice to see you.
Hi, John.
I was just gonna. Can I just follow up at one on Granit, if you don't mind? It- some players are clearly asymptomatic. Did he have a lot of symptoms? Do you mind me asking?
In Granit's case, not a lot. There are players that have felt different, as I mentioned, but it wasn't a big case.
No, sure. Are players able to do in that situation? They do stuff at home. They keep themselves ticking over, do they? I mean, it must be difficult.
Very difficult. We have players at home that we have to stop them because they want to carry on doing that. They don't want to lose any fitness, but that's why the doctor and all the sports science department are really on top of them, to understand what they're able to do. We don't want to risk the health of the players. It's absolutely the first thing that we have to look at, and then how can we maintain them fit and mentally as well fit, because when you are away for 7-10 days in your house while a lot of things are happening, it's pretty frustrating.
Can I just throw you back to August, because you've lost games yourself through opponents. You've made it clear you always want to play. And yet it felt like Brentford and Chelsea, particularly Chelsea, when you had a lot of positives between players and staff. Do you still feel a bit hard done by that? But that you had to play, the atmosphere, the climate was very different back then, when it felt like that game was never going to get called off, when you probably had a more pressing case than some teams now.
Well, that's when we discussed a few weeks ago, and you heard me say that we need some consistency and clarity in the rules. I think the rules are a little bit clearer now. How you use them, how they've been used, there is always a question mark there, and room for interpretation. That's it. What is done is done. We cannot change it. Move on and learn.
Just on this week, it feels like it's going to be a real pivotal week, doesn't it? I mean, you've got this wonderful opportunity against Liverpool, but also this opportunity against Spurs in the chase for top four. Just how important can this week be for the shape of the season?
Well, really important, because we are playing two different competitions that we are really engaged, and we have a lot of enthusiasm about it. One, because you can reach a final and you are closer to a trophy, and the second one because obviously we're going to play a big London derby against a team that is in the hunt for the same objective as we have.
You've produced some really good performances of late, but then you had the game on Sunday. With a young team, is it still a lot about mentality and trying to sort of shake off fragility and kind of get that consistency? How important is mentality and always being right for key games?
First of all, you bear in mind the context of how the game occurred and the players that we had available. And after that, leave the excuses apart and start to analyze the performance and what happened. We lacked cohesion on that game. We lacked purpose. I didn't like the quality and the intention we have in our attacking phase. Certainly in our first two phases. When we got into the final third, we didn't have enough end product. We didn't hit the target with the amount of shots and situations that we created. And then when you do that, if you don't have the right organization, when you lose the ball, you are exposed. And we do it right in 2 or 3 occasions. In 2 of those, we could have got badly punished. And that wasn't enough to lose the match.
Have you spoken to the players in retrospect on the back of that? Do you expect to see a reaction tomorrow night?
I don't have to ask a reaction because I know how they felt about it. I think it's clear. I think it's nothing that we can argue, discuss about. It was crystal clear. If it wasn't, I tried to make it so nobody gets confused about the standards that are required to play at this level against any opponent, because this competition we have experience and there is a big history about it, and now it's time to move on.
Thanks, Mikel. Good luck.
Thank you.
Gary?
Hi, Mikel. Could I just take about the Forest game? Did it sort of reiterate to you, and perhaps the board, about the squad is not strong enough?
I always focus in the players that we have and how we improve them. And there were a lot of things that we should have done much better, that wouldn't be more than enough to win the match. Changing a few aspects. Not all the aspects, because there were a lot of things, and there were attitude things that I really liked. How we press, how we chase the ball. But there were other things that they weren't good enough to win a match and make the difference the way we should do. And that's it.
Can I just check on Granit? Is the sort of the quarantine period up, or when exactly will you sort of find out about him and whether he's going to be available for tomorrow?
Well, there are certain protocols, and when the situation started, when you get tested negative first, whether you have symptoms or not. Hopefully, Gary will come to me today with the final decision whether he's entitled to compete tomorrow or not, and it will be down to the test as well.
So if he's not fit, then you obviously have Lokonga and Patino. I mean, Lokonga's played twice, maybe in a couple of months. I mean, how difficult is it for a player who hasn't played that often for you to throw him in that sort of atmosphere, that sort of importance of a game?
That's why when you judge a performance, an individual performance of a player, you need to bear in mind what happened to him, how many minutes he's played, who he's playing with, and to make a fair assessment. Because the heat of a defeat or the heat of a performance cannot lead to anybody to make the wrong conclusions. And with Sambi, yes, he needs more minutes. I think since he's joined, he's done much more than anybody else expected. He's played many more games at a really high level than anybody expected, and now he has the great opportunity to keep playing.
There's a lot of hype after with Charlie after he scored the goal, and then obviously you've tried to kind of quell it. He had a slightly more quieter game on Sunday. What do you think he learnt about Sunday, about himself, and about his development?
Like any other game, he would take things himself on board. That he did really well, and other things that he had to do extremely much better. And it was a complicated for us. When they defended, they were very man-orientated. He hasn't experienced a lot of games like that, and certainly it would be a good game for him.
Would you be prepared to sort of put him in the team tomorrow night at Anfield?
With Sambi?
No, with Patino.
With Charlie?
Yeah, Charlie, yeah. Sorry, the previous question's about Charlie. Sorry.
Okay, I thought you were talking about Sambi. Sorry about that.
Sorry.
No, with Charlie, yeah, well, I think... it was the first real exposure that he had starting a game, but I think it was a magnificent experience for him. A tough one, but as well good to see what happens when you lose a big club and the reaction, how the dressing room feels, how the manager feels, what the expectations are, and look that you can be there, but then you have to sustain yourself there, and that's a very different story.
Would you put them in tomorrow night, given the scale of the game?
We will look the players that we have available, and we will put the best possible team that we have.